Dynamics healthy orange. What does that even look like? Is there a healthy orange? Hello, this is Chris speaking. Wake up with a video about healthy orange in Dynamics. Orange is the color of success and efficacy, efficiency, innovation, and science. Science in the positive meaning of the word. The striving for knowledge. So why even talk about this color? All this doesn't have anything to do with second tier. From turquoise onwards, all this has no value at all. On the search of the soul for consciousness, there's no efficacy, no efficiency, no success, no knowledge, no innovation, and science only in the form of yoga, for example, the Indian sciences, or some forms of medicine like homeopathy, or Chinese medicine, or Ayurveda. I've stated several times recently that I'm not interested in beliefs and opinions, theories and abstractions, only experience. So why talk about orange? Why talk about Dynamics at all? Because we are not islands. It's this illusion of separation from the unity that is the main problem. And since we're not separated from all other human beings, and since orange is one of the strongest colors worldwide and hasn't reached its peak yet, it's necessary to talk about it because we are surrounded by a culture that is partly orange. Red, blue and orange, so orange is still cutting edge. Green and yellow have started to develop collectively, but orange is still a color which is kind of above average. Most of us have been growing up within a more or less blue context of very strict rules and morality, which can be very limiting, especially for children. So orange is already an improvement. It's a freedom to think about everything and anything you want. Freedom of speech, freedom of research. But of course this laissez-faire attitude can be and is being misused by some. And that's where the unhealthy orange comes into play that we see nowadays so strongly. People who are just thinking about their own bank account and everything else can go to hell. Orange was in the Western culture a reaction to the conservative church dominance. Until the 18th century, the church, for about more than 1,000 years, I would say, said what is right, what is wrong, what you're allowed to think about and write about. And this was later exchanged with science. In the 18th and 19th century, science became more important than the church dogmas. And now, of course, the kind of science most people are talking about is a bluish science, where it's again very restricted what you're allowed to talk about and write about. As we can see with this cancel culture, which came up in the last years, especially in the last year, during C times, there are a lot of scientists, people who call themselves scientists, who basically want to forbid free speech. This is not orange, this is blue. Or even sometimes green, because green wants to rein in the unhealthy orange, which is its job, of course. But what does a healthy orange look like? For me, a healthy orange is Mr. Spock, for example, on Starship Enterprise. Of course, there's a bit of green and yellow mixed into it, but it's mainly orange. Very logical. And even the founders of the term spell dynamics, Don Beck, Christopher Cohen, Nadia Todorovic, they were also orange at the time of writing that book. While the originator of the whole idea, Claire Graves, was centered in yellow. So for a long time it was already clear that a scientist, who is a true scientist, who really wants to know, wants to get to the utmost truth that is possible to find, is a form of healthy orange, like Einstein, Schrödinger and so on. Although what can easily happen, of course, is that if you really want to go and you really go to the bottom of things, like Einstein and Schrödinger, then you will probably be catapulted into second tier at some point, like yellow, for example, which happened to both of them. So apart from honest scientists who really want to know no matter what the outcome, what else can be healthy orange? Orange is also competitiveness. And can there be a healthy competitiveness? A healthy competition, or is that an oxymoron? On the Facebook page of this channel, a participant, Alan, gave me the idea, thank you Alan, that competitive professional sports is also a form of healthy orange. Try to change your car wheels in 4.5 seconds and you will know what I'm talking about. But indirectly, Alan also gave me a second idea, that all these motivational speakers, the speakers, yeah, about whom I've bitched about last August, are also a form of healthy orange. From a turquoise, coral or teal perspective, what they're saying sounds horrible, but from a blue and orange perspective, it's great. Yeah, I know a lot of people who went to speakers like Tony and so on, and they really benefited from it because they were in orange, primed to move on but didn't know how. So they moved to green and very quickly moved through green. And within a year or less, they went from orange to yellow. And that's great. So for people who are stuck in blue or orange or even green, these motivational speakers are very helpful. Comedians are also often centered in orange. Not always. Some are green. Very few, like JP Sears, are second tier, but most of them are orange. Most comedians make fun of blue and red. They do not make fun of orange, and they often make fun of green. So that's a very clear indication. If you make fun of everything else except one color, then that's the color you're centered in. And this picture is not representative. I just found it and liked it. Dave Chappelle is not centered in orange. Probably green. So while the unhealthy orange looks like red, the healthy orange helps people to transition into green and further. So what can we learn from orange? Most of us grew up in a society of lack, of fault, of deficit, of deficiency, of want, of shortage, scarcity. And we have always been taught that there's not enough for everyone. This is blue trying to rein in red. And this delusion that there is never enough has led to the most unhealthy orange. But to exchange this attitude of of want and lack and deficiency with an attitude of abundance. That is a beneficial aspect of orange. An aspect that will sooner or later also lead to green. Both will lead to green. The destructive aspect of orange will lead to green because the decline of one color is the rise of the next color, but also this positive focus of orange of wanting to manifest abundance will also turn into green, because at some point you have to realize that abundance can only work for everyone. In the long run, it's not enough only to look after yourself and your family, but that we're all sitting in the same boat, and that's green. So while I have been ranting against orange a lot last year, I recant. I'm starting to see some beneficial aspects of orange now. And many people who are interested in spirituality, who have always been interested in spirituality since their adolescence or even teenager time, they probably went through orange too quickly and didn't learn everything that can be learned there. You don't have to be an asshole to be orange. To the contrary, if you really do the Mr. Spock thing, it's fine. The trouble is that what is being sold to us as paragons of orange success, those are either people who are actually centered in red, or the orange people with some personality disorder like narcissism. So this always look on the bright side of life attitude. We will see if it destroys the planet and self-eradicates humanity, or if it leads to some positive outlook and further colors. But it definitely has a motivational value to move on. And that's, I think, that is the bright side of orange. Thank you for joining me on Facebook or Patreon. Thank you for liking, subscribing, hitting the bell button, sharing the videos with your friends, and see you soon.